What happens when you're an ambitious person who also expects a lot out of your life, but you're also too lazy to do anything about it and you procrastinate and put things off? Which doesn't seem like it makes sense, right? So why do you feel that way and how can you get out of it? Because chances are you're probably smart because most ambitious people that I know are also very intelligent, and yet you're also trapped for some reason. So we're not going to waste your potential any longer. I'm going to teach you how to use your ambitious but lazy side to your advantage and become successful with it. So let's stop wasting time because we already know how much time you already wasted by being lazy, and we're all going to get straight to the point today. And we're going to make you a more productive and disciplined person even though you are also lazy. If you don't know me, my name's May and my channel is all about improving yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually. But yeah, let's get into it because you are the only person who should have the absolute say in how you create your environment for success. I'm not just talking about where you live, not just that. I'm talking about what is making you who you are today. The things that you like, your hobbies, your friends, your school, your workplace, what kind of house you live in, and even the way your bedroom looks, all of it. These are all things that you can control and curate, and if you can't control something because you're at a certain place in your life, you can work around it. If you're somewhere where you don't want to be right now, like a terrible job for example, you have the power to tune out certain things that you don't like about that job while working on finding a new thing that you like. The worst thing you can do is to distract yourself by being grumpy and dissatisfied and miserable about your situation, and so you become lazy. Because at the end of the day, only you have to live with yourself. You're the only person who can give things power in your life. And nobody else should have anything to say about it because they're not you and they don't live your life. This also includes people that you're giving too much power to, like, oh my gosh, especially if you have a crush, for example, you are probably giving that person way too much power over you. Literally, nobody is special, nothing is special unless you make it special. In fact, in most cases, a crush is truly just a lack of information. I remember when I used to have crushes on people, I would obsess over them for hours every day and ignore my work, but then it always ends when I learn something about them that I don't like, and it immediately stops. Like if I see my crush doing something that gives me the ick, I'm done. I don't like them anymore. And then you look back and you're like, wow, what a waste of time. I could have spent that time doing something productive. And it's all in your head because you better realize that it's your attention and energy on people that makes them special. So you gotta be truly so conscious of what you are associating with and figure out what is distracting you from being more productive. A productive environment, for example, is usually a clean environment, no clutter, and everything around you should help you focus on what you're supposed to be doing. Especially if you're lazy, you better not stack the odds against yourself. In fact, you should be making it easy and inviting as possible for you to do the work. So if you want to be obsessed with anything, be obsessed with minimizing your distractions and making your life easier. Especially if you're someone like me who struggles a lot with self-control, I have to actively limit things like social media and phone time when I'm working. For example, by leaving my phone in another room and turning it off. And same goes for video games, junk food, anything with that addictive quality. And doing things like minimizing these distractions and encouraging more discipline, that also includes making more intentional choices in the way that you dress, the way that you present yourself. It really feeds into the way that you feel about yourself. For example, owning clothes that actually fit you and work for multiple occasions, having style choices that actually inspire you. For example, I've been wearing watches lately because I've been turning off my phone when I work and I need to look at the time, but not the digital watches because they're too distracting with all of the notifications and apps and all of that. So I've been into analog watches, no frills, and looks good with everything that I wear. So I got a timeless classic diamond watch from Pascal, and thank you to Pascal for sponsoring today's video. You might think, oh, diamond watch, that must be really fancy and cost thousands of dollars, right? Well, it is fancy, but it doesn't cost thousands. Personally, I think it's silly to spend 10 grand on logo brands just to look good for other people because who cares? You should only be buying aspirational things so you can inspire yourself to work harder, especially if it's something that's high quality and a good deal, and I always love a good deal. Like this diamond watch is only $200. Yeah, $200. And it's truly an affordable luxury because it's made of real diamonds and uses all the same quality and go-to materials that are also used by luxury brands without the crazy markup. Plus, now every time I look at the time and I see a diamond watch, it's like saying to myself, it's time to grind. I also never have to take this off at the shower or the swimming pool or gym because it's water and sweat resistant. And this is a perfectly simple design that's also classy and works for everything. So you don't feel like you're trying too hard to impress anybody. It is what it is. It's a simple simple classy diamond watch. I also got this vintage style oval halo diamond watch from Pascal with green gemstones and lizard embossed leather. And the design of it just screams old money vibes, but also contemporary. And again, not trying too hard. So it comes in this beautiful box and it makes a nice gift for someone, or better yet, give it to yourself for Valentine's Day. Treat yourself to something nice and make yourself a promise to work smart. So if you're interested in Pascal watches, you can click the link in my description and get 15% off your purchase. So let's now get down to the root cause of things, because we need to figure out why you're being lazy. Like, what is actually causing you to be lazy? Because we all know that you can have the kind of dream life that you want if you can be strategic about your life. And having a strategy doesn't mean that you need to work hard. It just means to have a strategy. I think the idea of working hard and then you'll succeed is like the old school American dream. And in many ways, we don't live in that world anymore. We live in the new paradigm now. And a lot of people in other parts of the world, as well as like Europeans, Japanese, and many other places, for example, they can all agree to an extent that hard work doesn't necessarily mean you're going to succeed. You can work as hard as you want, but if you're not doing the right things for yourself, then you're not going to get anywhere. So if you're lazy, why would you make it even harder on yourself by doing the very thing that you don't want to do, which is to work hard? Like, I get it. We all want to frolic in some flower field somewhere and call it a day. And hear me out. The goal is ultimately to create more opportunities so that we can all go and do more of that. But before we can even get there, let's think about what exactly you're avoiding right now. Is it the fear of actually doing the work? Are you a perfectionist and anything less than perfection gives you anxiety? Are you scared of failure? Maybe your goals are either too massive for right now, or maybe not even clear enough. Or maybe you're addicted to something and you're simply just overwhelmed by everything that you want to do. There's always a reason. So get very clear and very honest with yourself by figuring out why you are afraid of your ambition. That way you can begin to see what ways you can start to take responsibility. And again, don't worry, I got you, because laziness is not a bad thing. To me, a lazy person who loves to procrastinate, they will still eventually figure out how to get the job done, but in the most convenient and easiest way possible. And that's just one way of doing things, because there's so many ways to be productive. And working hard is just one way. And then taking smart strategic shortcuts is another way. So if one way doesn't work, then try something else, right? Unfortunately, a lazy person will also make a bunch of excuses. And that is one thing that you need to stop doing. Stop making excuses for yourself. You need to become solutions oriented, because there will always be someone out there who is richer than you, prettier, uglier, smarter, funnier, whatever. And nobody in this world is perfect except God. And there will always be some problems at some point that we have to face, because nothing is perfect all the time. So what separates a winner from a loser is how we deal with those problems, by finding not the perfect solution, but the best solution, which is to stop running away from your problems that you have to face eventually, because you're only going to create even more problems by doing that. So focus on a solution that works for you and be sincere about it, meaning you actually believe in what you're doing and you're true to yourself about it. Don't lie to yourself and say, oh, it's too hard for me, maybe it's not meant to be. These are all excuses. But if you want it badly enough, you will always find a way. Doing things like comparing ourselves and our situations with other people and blaming ourselves for our own weaknesses and then putting other people on the pedestal, that just gets us nowhere. We are all good at something, we all have our own strengths, and this can never be taken away from us. We might not have the opportunities to showcase our strengths all the time because, for example, of where we live and what our background looks like. So focus on the strengths that you do have right now in order to create solutions for yourself. And then anything else that's holding you back, like the lack of opportunities that I'm talking about, for example, instead of complaining like, boo-hoo, my life is so hard, I can't do anything because of whatever, do something about it. Like, for example, I work hard so I could leave the country I grew up in and be in an environment where I can have a lot more opportunities. And now I'm about to move again so that I can have an even better quality of life. So if you're stuck in the toxic environment, for example, stop making excuses and start making plans to solve it, because at the end of the day, you're the only person who has to live with your choices. Something that helps me push myself is to remember that the sun will rise surprised and sad no matter what, with or without you. Time will still pass if I sit around doing nothing, complaining about everything and being distracted. Time will also pass the same way if I take responsibility for my actions in my life and actually do what needs to be done. The difference is, if you choose to sit around, do nothing and complain, at the end of the day, you have nothing to show for it. Okay, but if you're like, well, I don't feel like it today. Imagine how much further you can get if you did things even when you don't feel like doing it. Of course, it doesn't mean that you always need to be doing something, because it's very important for you to be relaxing and enjoying your life too, right? But I promise you, your life will get better when you work on it. I also think that we should work with our weaknesses, because most of the time when we're afraid of something, it's because we don't know enough about it. So work to learn more about yourself, especially the things that you're not good at, so that you no longer fear it, because everyone has weaknesses. It doesn't make anyone special or different, including you. But your own unique weaknesses will also make you who you are, and your weaknesses will reveal to yourself what needs to be done, what needs to be improved, or what you shouldn't be doing, because it would be a waste of effort. Since we're talking about being solutions oriented, we need to also figure out how to solve this, because nobody can do everything, right? There's two types of people in the world. There's people who are really good at completing tasks, and then there's people who are really good at being managers. So if you have too many things on your plate and you just can't get to it, or you're just not good at something, you can always delegate it to someone else or something else. Like, you can use technology like AI as a tool, for example, to help you work better. But if you're able to give the work to someone else, then you can either have someone do you a favor or pay someone to do it. It's like if you can't cut your own hair, you go to a hair salon. You have someone professional to do it for you. Delegation is a great skill to have, and this is what managers do. Managers should be good at telling people how to do their jobs. And everyone's got an unfair advantage, whether it's pretty privilege, their mindset, their background, or even the things that they're interested in. So finding success depends on leaning into the unfair advantages that you already have, rather than what you're lacking in. There's a quote by a Russian author named Solzhenitsyn, hopefully I'm saying that right, that says, human beings are born with different capacities. If they are free, they're not equal. And if they are equal, they are not free. So how do you find your unfair advantage? And it's usually the things that you enjoy the most. Because most of the time, things that come very naturally for you while others find it difficult to do, it could be even a thing that you get a lot of compliments on from other people, for example, or that other people would mention that is a strength of yours that they see in you. Sometimes other people's feedback can be helpful, because we tend to be so hard on ourselves, so we might not see what other people might see in us. So if you have a lot of unfair advantages, that's amazing, but all you have to do is simple. It's just to find that one thing that you're better than everyone else at and focus on that. Sometimes even expressing yourself creatively can reveal different hidden strengths, for example. Like, if you're creative, that means you tend to have a genuine curiosity for the unknown and discovering new things and having deep conversations. And you also probably have a very distinct and particular taste. Creativity is also linked to open-mindedness. So everyone has their own way of expressing themselves, and everyone has varying levels of creativity. When you are actively expressing and exploring your own creativity, that's when you will find that unfair advantage. So then when you figure out what you can improve on without having to work very hard, that is when we find what comes easy to us. And whatever you want to succeed in, make sure that it's something that you truly love. That's the secret. Picking a field of work or an interest or a hobby that you're actually into. Because the person who's genuinely interested in the work is going to out-execute the person doing it out of sheer discipline. What you work on, as well as the people that you work with, will always win over how hard you work. So find something that you love and then deliver relentlessly, whether you feel like it or not. It's going to be so much easier for you when you do it like this, because while you may not feel like it at the moment, if you're genuinely interested, you don't ever want to make it harder for yourself by doing something that you hate doing, because then what's the point of living, honestly? If you're not enjoying yourself, you're really going to wake up one day and regret it. But if it's really inevitable that you have to do the annoying thing that you don't want to do, then either try to make it enjoyable for yourself in little ways, like making yourself your favorite beverage while you study, and just get it over with. Or, like I said, you can always delegate something that you don't want to do. So how do you beat something like procrastination, for example? Because, okay, there's all this talk about working smart and working hard, right? What if you don't even want to work? You don't even feel like it because you're lazy and you procrastinate. And the harsh truth is, Only a person who has low emotional intelligence gets carried away by their emotions. They don't have control over it. So because they don't feel like doing it, they're scared or they're anxious, they don't do anything. It's like we're always waiting for the perfect moment to arrive and the perfect feeling so we can get the drive to do something. But that never happens. Never. We need to instead line up our emotions with the thing that we want to work on and forget about waiting for the perfect moment. You can always change the way that you feel by just imagining how you want to feel, and you can always beat procrastination by taking action despite not feeling like doing it. The more you do this, the easier it gets, and trust me, the momentum is going to make sense and it's going to help you. For example, if you don't want to go to the gym because you don't feel like it, then put on your gym clothes and wear your sneakers and grab your gym bag and then tell me that you still don't want to go to the gym. There's no way. The act of putting yourself into that motion by preparing yourself for it will motivate you to go to the gym because you're expecting to do it. Building momentum is amazing because you always feel like the more you do something, the more you're capable of doing even more. Having a ritual always helps. For example, like I've been doing this thing lately where right before I jump into a work session, I would make myself a cup of tea, and the act of doing that puts me in the mood to do work. But if you don't want to overwhelm yourself by doing endless tasks all day long, that's when the Pareto principle comes in. So the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule, which basically means that 80% of the results come from 20% of the things that you do. So what this is going to look like is 80% of a business profits, for example, comes from 20% of its products, or 80% of my YouTube subscribers come from 20% of my videos. We can use the same Pareto principle to identify the 20% of efforts that are producing 80% of the results and focus our efforts there instead of wasting our energy and our time working hard at something that doesn't work out for us. So understanding how to use the Pareto principle is like a lazy but ambitious person's dream. So if you need to complete 10 things today, then prioritize 2 tasks that will resolve the other 8 because you're lazy. You're not going to be doing all 10 things, and that's totally fine as long as you can use this to kickstart a momentum. So now let's talk about discipline. Motivation will never last forever, so don't even count on it. It's a nice burst of energy to get you going, but it will only take you so far before you start to burn out. The key is to just start. Just do it. Don't wait for motivation to hit you. Don't wait for the perfect feeling, and just start even when you don't feel like it. This is exactly how you build discipline. Discipline is what's going to make motivation last so much longer. So what helped me develop discipline and what drives me to get up every day and become my best self is knowing the kind of life that I want for myself that's literally within my power to have. And also, to be honest, it's also the underlying fear of missing out on my dream life that's also a huge motivator for me. Not because it's impossible for me, but because if I was too lazy to go for it and I don't even try, like that would be so sad. What a waste. There is nothing between you and your goals except for yourself. Everything else is in your head. And I don't want to wake up one day and be really old and regret all the years I could have spent working on my dream life, and yet I just chose to complain and be distracted all day long, and my dream life remains a daydream. That would be so tragic. So because I don't want that to happen, I choose to put in the work. So figure out what your personal motivations are. If your future self met you today, would they love you or hate you? Would they be proud of you? And what would you focus on if you're not afraid of failure? If you have a goal in mind, what do you want to do to prove to yourself that you can achieve it? And make sure that your motivations are actually important enough to you to make you stay disciplined. And if you're struggling with any kind of mental illness or neurodivergence, it's really less about putting in the work and more so about discovering what actually works for you. So rather than setting yourself up for failure by doing what works for everyone else except for you and feeling like you're not doing anything, accept the fact that there are certain things that just won't work out for you, and that's fine. If something isn't working, recognize it and ask, how else can I achieve this? What other ways can I use the tools that are available to me so that I can go ahead and do the thing? Sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture of your goals too. Maybe you don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning because it doesn't work for you. Maybe you just need a more consistent sleeping schedule. Or if you want to lose 50 pounds, maybe figure out what kind of foods that you like that will also help you lose weight. And maybe not 50 pounds at a time, but 5 pounds at a time. Be flexible and open-minded about what achieving your goals looks like, because there's so many ways to achieve your goals. And it's a process to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And that takes time. There are also a lot of things in life that are just simply out of your control. If you can look at a situation, honestly say that you have tried your best, then you shouldn't beat yourself up about it. Then that's maybe when you can realize that it's time to pivot and try something else. Honestly, at the end of the day, if you just work on growing and improving yourself and healing yourself and doing things that push you just right out of your comfort zone as often as you can, and that you're actually doing something that you said you would because you honor your own words, then you're winning, period. You're going to get better and better and better. Your attitude and outlook really makes a hell of a difference, because even if things don't work out for you, the right mindset is going to help you become more flexible and enjoy the process even more, even if it sucks sometimes. At the end of the day, the only person who knows if you're ultimately going to become successful or not is going to be the future version of yourself. So while I believe that hard work doesn't always pay off because it doesn't always work for everybody, the experience of it, of trying, will always teach you something, and you will always be better for it than if you were to do nothing. So guys, I hope this helped you today. I hope you can use your laziness to your advantage to help you find success. Thank you to Pascal for sponsoring this video, and let me know in the comments what you're struggling with so I can help you. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.